primary. Joining us now via phone back in Virginia, House of Delegates member Glenn Davis from Virginia Beach. Delegate Davis, good to have you with us, man.
John, thanks for having me this morning. I have to tell you, I'm kind of jealous not being out there with you in New Hampshire.
It is really unbelievable out here, the number of candidates who have come by. We've already talked to Carly Fiorina, and Jim Gilmore was here. Donald Trump's two sons were on a show a couple of minutes ago. So a lot of activity going on, but you've got some things happening in Virginia. I want to start, though, local politics. Delegate Davis, today, Randy Forbes at 1:30 in a Facebook live stream, but Scott Ridgel is going to announce his intention to run in the 2nd District for Congress, abandoning the 4th District. He'll be endorsed by Scott Ridgel. By the way, Randy Forbes on our show, he'll be live in studio while I'm in New Hampshire tomorrow at 8:05 a.m. Don't want to miss that. Scott Ridgel tomorrow at 6:40 a.m. on the John Fredericks Show. Glenn, what do you make of this?
Well, John, I wouldn't say that Randy is abandoning the 4th District. I mean, the 4th District is no longer the 4th District as we know it. The court's got a hold of it. A large chunk of it now it was never in the 4th District. Some of the 4th District didn't exist in the 4th District after the courts got to it. So the idea that it's in the 4th District by name doesn't mean that it's the 4th District by constituents any longer. And so given those numbers and the fact that it's a 62% Obama district and we need Randy's seniority, he's made a decision to continue to serve the Commonwealth and specifically those of us in Hampton Roads in the Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area by running into the 2nd District with the seat opened by Scott Ridgel.
Do you see yourself making an endorsement in this race? Because this is not fait accompli. He's got to beat. There's two other candidates right now. Your colleague, House of Delegates member Scott Taylor, running. He says he's going to go all out to win. Also, Pat Cardwell, a local lawyer in the area. Do you see yourself making an endorsement, Delegate Davis, in this race?
Sure. Well, I don't know Pat at all. Obviously, I know Scott very well. I served with Scott in the General Assembly. And I know Congressman Forbes pretty well as well. When I was by McDonald's legislative aide, he was in the House serving with Randy Forbes. And then Randy was also my state senator when Randy served in the state house, and I've known him since. So we have some great guys running, but given how much service Randy has provided to our area of Virginia and the job he's done and the seniority he has, I'm going to support him, but I also believe that that seniority is very, very important for our state and specifically for Hampton Roads, given his seat on the Armed Services Committee. I have to tell you, John, it's when you look at all the seniority we've lost in Virginia on both sides of the aisle up in Congress, the only person we've really got left is Goodlatte. And Virginia is truly going to be hurting if we end up losing the seniority of Randy Forbes. And then when Goodlatte's gone, we really have no seniority for quite some time, and then that's going to hurt, especially with sequestration coming around again in a couple of years.
So, Delegate Davis, can we take that as an official endorsement of Randy Forbes?
Yes. I want to, Randy's going to come out and everything should happen in logical sequence, but when Randy comes out and says, yes, I'm officially running publicly, you will see me behind Randy Forbes. Okay,
sounds excellent. Now, Delegate Davis, I want to get to your priorities this week in the Virginia General Assembly. There's a lot going on this week. It's 2 weeks before crossover. You got a lot of things happening. What are your top priorities?
Well, John, my top priorities have always been the same over the last couple of years. It's taxes. It's tax policy. How do we allow people to keep the greatest amount of their wealth while still providing the necessary services from education and public safety? And then how do we get the tax policy in place that allows us to attract more businesses, more startups to succeed, and therefore create more jobs? This is the third year working on a tax policy that will finally stop the double taxation of in-state Virginia companies from being double taxed by Virginia when they sell services out of the state. We're only one of about 17 states left that have that antiquated tax policy, and we're finally going to get that resolved hopefully in the next or in the near future anyway.
I tell you what, I know you've been working on that, Delegate Davis, a long time. We're with Delegate Glenn Davis, Republican, Virginia Beach, working on tax policy. Let's get to certificate of public need. A couple of important votes coming up either Tuesday or Wednesday. We believe a lot of rural hospitals very upset over the potential repealing of certificate of public need because they say, look, you take that away, other hospitals are going to come in or other health service providers are going to come in. They're going to profiteer on the most profitable medical services, leaving rural hospitals in a very financially vulnerable position. We've already had one close in Southeast Virginia. We've already had one close in Southwest Georgia over the change in certificate of public need, COPN. And, you know, you're not really dealing with a free market because hospitals are so regulated. They have to take indigent care and everything else. How do you stand on this?
Well, John, I think there's a argument that's being waged that is not entirely true, and that's the idea that we need to make healthcare a free market, and this makes healthcare a free market, and therefore they want to get rid of COPN. But the fact of the matter is we force our hospitals to treat those that can't afford to pay, that don't have insurance. And a free market is defined as, the government doesn't protect anyone, but the government doesn't force anyone to take someone as a customer either. So I've always said if we want to make healthcare a completely free market and get rid of COPN and the requirements of hospitals to have to, look at patients that may not be able to afford their services, then maybe that's the thing to look at. And obviously there's a lot of problems that come with that. But we're not going to go and say we're going to create a ton of competition for those services with high margins, but we're going to force you to take all the patients that have no margins or low margins. That's not a free market. That's the government intervening where it doesn't belong, and hopefully that point resonates with my colleagues.
So it sounds like you're going to be not in favor of a full repeal of COPN. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. There is some room maybe for some tweaking of it. It's been a long time since we tweaked it, and some services have changed in the medical field. But a full repeal of COPN, I think, is the wrong way to go.
I tell you what, Glenn Davis, a common-sense conservative, Republican from Virginia Beach. Glenn, we always end up agreeing on about 90% of stuff. That's pretty scary. Look, I want to get to this is probably something else we're going to agree on, which is this. Chris Peace is pushing this Airbnb bill through, and my position on it is, look, this is not a level playing field either, because there's no way for Airbnb to be in compliance. The whole thing is on the honor system. So you look at the hotel and tourism industry, they're playing by one set of rules, Airbnb playing by a second set of rules. There's no way to ever monitor what the taxes are or what they're doing. And like in Richmond right now, it's illegal. Airbnb is illegal, but Airbnb has 300 ads up right in Richmond. So they're not even complying with current law. Why don't we slow this thing down?
John, John, you should be up here with me. That's exactly it. It's great that we have short, 60-day and 45-day sessions in the General Assembly. We're supposed to be citizen legislators. But the problem that comes with it is we try to sometimes solve some very complex issues inside of that 45 and 60 days. And it's just very difficult to come up with that ideal solution. And this is one of them. I mean, this is a big issue. Airbnb and others in that field are looking for one set of things. I think the tourism industry is looking for something entirely different. I think the tourism industry in the beginning maybe was looking for a little bit of an overreach. So we're getting ready to come to crossover, and this is where we're sitting. I give Chris Peace all the credit in the world for even getting into this part. I mean, you know how many bills that we all carry up here. So the time he's had to have devoted into this. But at the end of the day, we have a bill that you're right. It can't be audited. It doesn't provide a whole heck of a lot. And the piece that it leaves on the table, the multi-unit rentals, are not even addressed. And that's the piece that actually is the biggest threat to health, safety, and to the tourism industry. So I really do think that there's a little bit further that needs to go on this, but it's probably one of the shortfalls, and one of the few shortfalls of Virginia having such a short session.
Well, I just think it needs to get slowed down. There needs to be a study done the way there was a study done for Uber and Lyft. That was a 14-month study. This thing is trying to get rammed through in 6 days. And the other thing that really bothers me with this bill is, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, free market, Airbnb, it's all good technology. But here's the reality, the other reality with this thing. Right now, the way it's written is you can rent out 5 rooms, 2 person per room, plus 5. That's 15. That means that I can have my next door neighbor can be renting out renting out to 15 people next door to me. Okay? Now, in order for a legitimate business to do that, you got to go through zoning and everything else. These guys could just start having who knows who next door. That's number one. The other thing is, if you rent over 45 days in Virginia, right, then you're a business, which means you pay the peephole tax, right? Which means you have to get a business license. Well, there's no way to monitor that either. So, again, it's not a level playing field, and I just think that for Airbnb, people just have to take a breath and study this thing before it goes through and creates an advantage. I don't want to be picking winners and losers in the marketplace. Am I right?
No, you're 100% right. And, John, you hit on some really good points that I've expressed here. You mentioned the 45-day rental and how that's, how can you possibly enforce that? You can't audit it, and you're right. And I've mentioned it to some people up here that if you want an auditable number, you can't do it by number of nights. And it's too easy to game number of nights anyway. You have to do it by total billing. So call it $4,500 or $5,000 before you become that business, because that's auditable. There's a 1099 issued by Airbnb or whatever other online entity that you run through, issued to the person who's running their units, and that number is auditable. So we're tracking the wrong things. We're leaving things out in the cold. But like I said, when session started, both sides wanted something done. A couple of people jumped in. Chris Peace has done an amazing job, trying to bring these people together to get to even this point. But in 60 days, and arguably 30 days, because you have to have it done and voted on prior to crossover, it's just a big lift to get a real bill that actually means something to both sides.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank House of Delegates member Glenn Davis, Republican, Virginia Beach, for being with us. Want more information? GlennRDavis.com. GlennRDavis.com. Delegate Davis, great to have you here, man.
John, thanks again. And for all your listeners out there, we have a survey online. It's ending soon, but it's at GlennRDavis.com. And I'd love for you to please go out there and give me your thoughts on the issues here back in Virginia.